how I had been nominated for this award. I just remember them being proud of me, and the teacher that nominates you writes something up about why they're nominating you for this award. So what Mr. Derricks wrote about me and why he nominated me, and they were reading that, and I think they were just really proud of me for getting that award. There's a creed that I really love, and this is what it says: to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true. That just really, I feel like, resonates with me, because I think for a lot of things and for a lot of people, they can kind of start to not look at the positives of a situation. So for me, I like to remind myself to always look at the positives and just have a positive outlook on life. That's why it resonates with me. Next year, I am committed to UCLA for swimming, so I will be attending UCLA. I'm really grateful for the opportunity for that, and to continue to swim all of my next 4 years in college. Swimming has been kind of my entire life since I started it when I was 7, so I think it just taught me discipline and different stuff that I wouldn't have learned, I feel like, from any other sport. I've met some of my best friends in the sport, and I'm just extremely excited to continue it. In closing, I want to thank Sherry and everyone involved in the Optimist Club for having this opportunity for all of us, including me, to be a part of. Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Chaos.
I'll call to order the Village Board of Oregon from Monday, May 18th, 2026. Ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Higgins,
Here.
Kirchdorfer,
Here.
Knipfer,
Here.
Lees, Marks, McDaniel,
Here.
and Van Kampen.
Here. Thank you. Item 3, approval of May 4th, 2026 Village Board meeting minutes if correct, and corrections of mistakes if any. Higgins and Knipfer. Corrections? Hearing none. Motion by Higgins, second by Knipfer. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 4, public appearances, comments, and communications. A public comment. This part of the agenda allows members of the public to provide information to the village board, including items both on and off the agenda. Under the open meetings law, this agenda allows the board to receive information, to ask questions, present, or facilitate a better understanding of the information. Board members may discuss procedural matters related to the information, such as whether the information should be directed to staff. They will not expand their discussion beyond such procedural matters. 15 minutes will be provided with 3-minute maximums per speaker. We have Tom Bjorkston registered for first.
Yeah, can I come up now?
Yeah, come on up, Tom. State your usual name and address for the record, Tom, and reminder you have 3 minutes.
My name is Tom Bjornson. I live at 153 Johnson Street. And what I forgot to put in the paper why I came.
It's okay.
I think that we ought to be able to get restraining orders from our civil court here, even if it's done by telecommunications or by having a civil court, a rural county judge come once a week for the purpose of getting restraining orders. I've had problems with people in the past. One guy had a problem with a disagreement over the '94 election. He called the sheriff on me and said I was going to kill a political candidate, which really excited the sheriff's deputy. Also at my class reunion on August 1st of '98, called the sheriff on me again. I had been there for 3.5 hours socializing. Called and said I was going to kill his wife. When he got a restraining order on me, I says, that doesn't even make any sense. I mean, it's like my parents' 45th wedding anniversary. And I don't like being lied about. Him and his family, and they got a friend that's got a business that won't let me in their business because of a bunch of talk. I just hate it, being lied about. They talk about armed and under the influence. I think your average drunk with a gun is less dangerous than a cop who's been lied to thinking somebody's there to kill somebody and they're sober and they got a gun. He even sees a person could get shot. When the person comes around the police, both sides are supposed to defuse the situation and calm things down, to what they call de-escalate the situation. I also got outraged by a neighbor who poisoned my prized grapevine, a St. Pepin grapevine, for making ice wine. He poisoned that in my asparagus patch, and when I had the guy from the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection come, he took a photograph, took the leaves, tested it, talked to the guy's wife. The guy banged on my porch door so hard that a ceramic number came off.
30 seconds, Tom.
Okay, so I thought I was going to get into a fist fight with the guy, and he called the cops on me for having a station wagon that didn't work, and I called the cops on him and his wife twice, one time for just taking a photograph of my lot stake, and him and his neighbor both said, get out of my yard, get out of his yard. I hate this, getting harassed, and I don't want to be defenseless, and I don't want to overdo it with defending myself either.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
What do you think of my idea so far, you guys?
We really can't discuss it.
All talk it over.
Okay?
I got the idea from watching Gunsmoke.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else here for public comment? Come up, sir. You would state your name and address for the record and pull the microphone close.
Sure.
Thank you.
My name is Tim Martinelli. I've lived in Oregon since 1994 at 500 South Burr Oak. Thanks for the opportunity to address the board. I sent you all the email last week. It was regarding a incident in my house where the village lawnmower was mowing village property behind my house. The lawnmower threw a rock out, put a quarter-size hole in my window at the back of my house. And so this occurred on April 9th. I filed a claim with the village insurance company and it was denied. In the denial email, the claims adjuster indicated they'd performed an investigation. The investigation consisted of looking at a photo I had sent and the brief claim form that you have to file. I really feel a more thorough look at the situation could have included at least a visit to my house or a phone call, some kind of comment from the insurance adjuster. I left a voicemail with her on April 27th and have not heard back yet. Although the rock was thrown into my window was obviously accidental, the fact remains that the window was damaged by a village lawnmower. I'm asking the board to reconsider the denial, cover the cost of the window and the installation of the property that was damaged by the village equipment. I said I was brief because you guys got the email, so any questions for me at all on anything? I know it's on the agenda at the end, so.
Yeah. Oh, I don't see
No,
it.
thank you for coming in.
Thanks
though.
for
All
coming
right,
in.
all right, thank you.
Anyone else for public comments? Public comments. Okay, moving on. Item 5, approval of vouchers in the amount of $2,442,714.73. Higgins and Kirstover. Questions, comments on this item?
I have a weird question, just for curiosity. I was wondering about the metal detector from Pollard Water Company. It's on page 7 of the document or page 20 of the packet. Just what it is. I'm nosy.
That's probably ours. We do use metal detectors for utility locates, so we need them to find curb stops and valves and all of that, just to make sure we can mark it for projects.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
What else? No, okay, this will be a roll call vote. We have a motion by Higgins, second by Kirstover.
Van Campen.
Yes.
Higgins.
Yes.
McDaniel.
Yes.
Marks.
Yes.
Knipfer.
Yes.
And Kirchdorfer.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 6, consent agenda. Staff recommendation, motion to approve consent agenda items as presented. That's 6A and 6B. Higgins and Knipfer. Questions on these items?
I did have a question about the police contract for the boxing band and beer event. Are the police officers eligible to work that as private contractors or no? Is that against department policy?
So we, in working with the village's legal counsel, came up with this agreement to keep it clean.
Mhm.
But this way, if an emergency happens in the village, we would pull them.
Mhm.
But no, outside of that, we don't.
We don't allow them.
We can do secondary employment.
Okay.
That's under a village policy. But this, yeah, we have a very direct policy on this.
I'm just glad to
Given
hear
the
that.
history.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, we have a motion by Higgins, second by Knipfer. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 7, reports of committees and for discussion and possible action. A, Park Board. Presentation from Ben Baker for proposed Eagle Scout project to construct and install 5 bat boxes at Keller Alpine Meadows Park, Westside Park, Stone Ridge Park, and the East Netherwood Street Cusick Parkway Stormwater Basin. Park Board and staff recommendation, motion to approve. Should we get that on the table? Kirstover and Marks. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you for having me.
Could you give us your name and address and speak into the mic, please?
My name is Benjamin Baker. I live at 695 Northwoods Edge Drive, Oregon, Wisconsin. Thank you for the introduction, sir. Like you did say, my plan for my Eagle project is to build bat houses around Oregon and just this project alone does come with many benefits over just a lot of different areas. The main idea is the project will provide a safe roosting nest and habitats for the local population, which are important for maintaining a healthy ecosystem here in Oregon. Bats do help control insect populations, including mosquitoes and agricultural pests, reducing the need for chemical pesticides in the area. Installing these bat houses supports local biodiversity by giving bats an alternative to natural roosting sites that may be very limited or disturbed. And the project does benefit the surrounding community by contributing to the natural pest control and promoting environmental conservation education. These bat houses are designed to be long-lasting and will continue to benefit wildlife for many years to come. So there are a lot of safety concerns when you talk to anything related building, especially when it comes to the Scouts BSA. Scouts BSA does have a Scouts BSA Safe Guide to Scouting guideline, basically saying what you can and cannot do as a member of the Scouts. So before this whole project even starts, we will be giving them a full safety briefing for any of the tools that are even touched. Eye protection safety glasses are worn at all times. I understand I have on the slide just for cutting and drilling, but I've decided to change that to all times just because if you're next to a person cutting, it's still possible to get a wood chip in the eye. I've seen it happen. Saws and drills are only to be used by Scouts above the minimum age according to Scouts BSA guidelines, or direct adults, which was the case for any sort of reciprocating saw. Materials will be secured before cutting or drilling to prevent any movement. Even if it's on the table saw, I still would like a clamp on it. I've seen saw kickbacks can get really bad really quick. Just like to eliminate that possibility at all times. And then a safety lead, who will be my father, will monitor all the tool use and stop the work if unsafe conditions occur. And then first aid kit will be on site for any emergencies that will happen. So the plans that you guys are now seeing up on the screen is going to be that top of the bat house portion. Like you did say, the plan is to have 5 of these go up around the Village of Oregon. I want about 10 feet high, so you can buy posts about 13 to 15 feet. And it would be a 4x4 post that I would drive 3 to 5 feet into the ground. I've already talked with Public Works, and they have said that they do have some asphalt that they would be willing to help secure the base of these houses to stop movement happening throughout the years. I did realize the plan they have up there right now is the old one, but it has been changed to remove that swivel. Originally in the original plans, I did have a swivel built into that. I have since removed that just as it's an added cost, it's an added everything to it. So just removing that does save us a lot of time. So locations, like you did state, are going to be the ponds and overflow locations, such as the ones that we have here right behind us at Lerner Park. And then Acoustic Parkway is another really bad one where if you start walking by, you'll get bit by mosquitoes pretty bad. And then I live up at the Alpine area, and during the summer and spring, I can see all the mosquitoes in my backyard. I can probably start counting them if I tried. So trying to eliminate the population is definitely a big part of this location. I think there might be a couple more slides. Thank you, sir. So as far as the cost of the bat house go, as of right now, I do have a projected cost of about $45 to $100, just to make sure that these things are the best exterior grade that I can provide. Making sure that these are good materials that will last a long time and will not just last a year and then I can just say, well, it's out of my hands. So I would like to make sure these are here for as long as I can, making sure that they're properly weather sealed using caulk, making sure that it has a proper roof on it. We live in Wisconsin, we get hail, making sure that this doesn't cause more issues later down the line. And that way when I turn the product over, I know that it is to my best standards that I can do, and that these are the best houses that I could have made. So a big part about this eco project is, and the reason why it's done is to show that you can demonstrate leadership for a lot of Scouts. So I do plan on being very organized, making sure I have a clear task sheet, if you will, so that way everybody knows what they're going to be doing, and that this can be almost an assembly line. You know, we're working as efficiently and as quickly as possible. I will have that work plan available for every person. I'm also going to be supervising all the progress through the project and adult tasks as needed to make sure we're staying on a schedule. And I will also ensure all safety is met and stop work if it's unsafe conditions such as rain or lightning or thunder. I do plan on communicating very clearly with adults and scouts to make sure everybody understands what their purpose is. And I will take responsibility for the final outcome of the project and make sure that it meets all requirements and standards set by the Village of Oregon and set by me personally. That was the last slide. So now at this time, any questions?
Tim?
No questions, just a comment. This is a terrific project. Thanks for putting it together. I look forward to seeing them go out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Higgins.
Thanks for coming, Ben. I saw that you had presented to the park board. I was watching and then got distracted with children and came back and you were done. So I apologize if the questions I'm about to ask you were already asked by the park board, but I have a couple questions about the bat houses themselves. So, and if you don't know the answers to this, this is fine, but are these used all year round? Like, what happens in the winter time? Do these need to be cleaned out? Do we need to make sure that they're sort of like maintained and ready for when the mosquito population comes back? What does it look like year round with a bat box?
So I can answer part of that. I can't answer what happens in the winter. That I don't know what happens. I know that bats move.
Okay.
But I don't know the state that it's left in at that time.
Okay.
But as far as what it looks like in a year, it's about this time in the spring that these bats are looking for a roosting ground. They're looking for a place to live for the summer, and the best habitat you can give them is the best possibility of them actually living in there. So that's why I chose these overflow locations. But as far as the maintenance that is required, probably 1 to 2 times a year, just going out there, making sure the house is clean, making sure that it's still sealed. That's a big thing. If there starts to get moisture in there, or if there is water is able to get in through the roof of the box, they might just not live there anymore.
Okay.
So just making sure that it's kept up to date, you know, preventative maintenance almost.
Okay.
Making sure the lawn, making sure these projects can live out as long as possible.
And how would one, like, how is it built so that you could check it?
So if you're looking at those plans, that half-inch sheet of plywood, that's only held in by 8 exterior screws.
Oh, okay.
And they're just little Phillips tips that I plan on putting in.
Okay.
I'm putting in deck screws actually into it, so I know that it'll be strong.
Sure.
But if you can either look up through the bottom of it and you can see just with like a little flashlight or whatever, you'll be able to see. All right, yeah, this box is pretty dirty. Or if the village has, or if whoever is doing it has the time, 8 screws come off really quickly with a screw gun. And you can take your hand, run along top, making sure they have a spot to grip on, and then making sure that the sidewalls are clean, nothing is growing in there that shouldn't be, stuff like that.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Rick?
Ben, I just had a couple of comments. I don't really have any questions.
Excuse me. Pull your mic up, please.
An excellent project, again, for our community. I much appreciate you and your organization doing this stuff. Very well presented, very great organization. I'm glad to see that you were talking about tool safety and weather safety, very important to me and the community that you're doing that. So looking forward to the outcome and getting some opportunity for people to help volunteer with your project. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion by Kirchhofer, second by Marks. So all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you, Ben. Excellent presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 8, unfinished business items for discussion and or possible action. A review and consider selection of final concept options for Oregon Senior Center rebranding project. I think we'll wait on that. just touch a little bit at where we should be at the end, and that is we want to narrow two concepts, narrow the choices down to two, and then that will go out to the community for voting, and then we will proceed to actually build the final assets and a brand guide. So everyone had it in their packet. The 6 options three versions each of the two versions. The right numbers are there somewhere, but anyway, let's start with initial thoughts. Anyone? Lynn?
Well, yet again, Rachel's memo I thought was really helpful. I feel like this project evolves every single time we see it. I felt like the comments about Oregon specifically, and potentially our partners feeling a little neglected is not the word I'm looking for, but unseen here is important. Mm-hmm. And so I, of course, don't want to add more fuel to more iterations, but I do wonder if what we're seeing right now kind of on the screen that Rich has, the first 3 concepts, 1, 2, and 3, if we can simply just add Oregon area in that yellow in order to acknowledge that that's what we currently utilize, right, Rachel?
Oregon Area Senior Center is the current name, yes.
Right. So, like, by adding the area, we're including our partners. Just a thought. I hate to add more to that. The only other comment I have is that I not a fan of concept 2 in our place. It looks like your place if you're not for, like, if the symbol is hard to follow. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Rich. I'm on the neck. Keep going. Yeah, keep going. Sorry. Yeah. Right there. The middle one on the bottom.
Yeah.
Personally, just not a fan of that, but that's all.
Other comments? Anyone? Tim?
I like our place over senior and community center or senior and wellness center. I'm not as sold on that. Is that an O? Because it looks kind of like a P. That badge, that button, whatever you would call it. On like the 2 in the bottom row, that one that Rich is circling there. I don't quite understand that symbol. I think it was supposed to be an O, but I don't know why it has that.
I think it's supposed to be both an O and a P for our place.
Our place, I see.
Our place.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I see it.
And then it's a location marker because it's a place.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I get it, but I didn't get it.
Yeah, that's just something I didn't.
But I prefer the Our Place name.
Okay. If I could go back to Lynn, are you saying showing a preference for the Oregon area, the top version?
Well, I think the idea is that we were going to send 2 to the community.
Okay.
And I'm okay with 1 from the top line and 1 from the bottom line.
Right, fair enough.
Okay.
Sorry, I would agree with the troublesome logo on concept 2 of our place. So is that general agreement? That's one we'd strike? Okay. Tom, you look like you might have had something to say.
I guess I like the adding of the Oregon area because we are serving more than just the village in this particular facility. I like the little more colorful version of our place with the 3 colors. And if we could make that Oregon area senior center and community gym, I don't know how you might have to juggle some wording around it or size, but that would be a preference for me on the bottom row. I guess I would pick from the top. I would go for the just because it's more inclusive. But I'm open.
Okay. Hey,
My vote for line 1 is concept 3, and my vote for line
I'm sorry, was the third
concept
one? 3,
concept
okay.
3. Yep, the senior center and community gym. I just think it's clear. I just think wellness, unfortunately, gives potentially the wrong vibe.
Okay.
Line 2, concept 1, I like the colors. I also liked, and it's not shown here currently, but where it doesn't say Oregon Senior Center and it had like the 3 words, I would just, we had feedback. We had some strong feedback, either for and against from the community about using the word senior. So part of me would like to possibly offer a concept that doesn't have the word senior in it, right? We could, right? We talked about doing different taglines, but it would allow an option to not have the word senior be used. I'd be curious, right, if we take it to the community, but again, we had some people who are very vocal about that word.
So you're saying the one that says explore, engage, energize?
Yes, but it's the concept 1 on the screen that's shown right now as far as the image, right? The multiple colors for our place, but
Page
yes.
71.
And again, we could tagline it with the Oregon Senior Center as well, but if we want to give that as an option to the community to not use the word senior.
Okay. Anybody else? Rick?
I'm of the same opinion. This is probably the one that I would like considered, and then perhaps another one that says Our Place with the same logo and Oregon Area Senior Center.
Could you bring up the, I'm sorry, Rick.
Yeah,
So that one?
Bring up this one with the 6 on it, because I'm kind of tallying votes here. So I'd like the board members to indicate. So which one on this screen?
It's the concept 1 on the bottom line, but it has that one, but the alternate tagline that we were just discussing on page 71.
Okay.
So the tagline is in the
Yeah. But
further up in the pack.
but concept 1.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I agree that concept 2 of the lower line, I don't like that one. I guess between the two, on the lower line, I prefer the first one, which gives us 4 for that one. So really, it's a matter of clearing up on the upper one, which one. Well, first of all, Lynn suggested adding the word area, and I wondered what the rest of the trustees feel about that.
I agree with it.
I would add it to the top. On the Our Place, we were talking about the tagline of explore, engage, and energize as being a tagline on that, and then within different segments of the building differentiated. Here's the senior center, here's the community gym, and additional notation within the facility.
Was that a vote for it, the word area?
Yes,
Oh.
for Oregon area, yes. I was speaking more to the tagline on Our Place here.
Right,
We
right.
talked about a different tagline on that.
Yes, I understand.
Okay.
Right now, I wanted to nail down the top row,
Okay.
since we need to have 2. Assuming you want to have one of the 2 is going to be the one from the upper row, one from the lower row, albeit with perhaps the different taglines. We all on board with that? Okay.
Yes.
So we really need to nail down then the top line. I don't have a problem with the word area. How about you, Rachel?
I think that if Ticey is watching or will watch this meeting, one of their questions would be, if you want to include the word area in those top renditions, do you want to get rid of the picture of the little people?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a really very wordy name by the time you do that. And I don't know how, you're already making the word and this kind of little tiny little bannery thing there. I'm not sure where you're gonna put area and still maintain some sort of a logo.
Yeah, I'm going to push back a little bit on the word area because when I think of other senior centers in the area, they do not include an inclusive word such as that.
Stoughton Area Senior Center.
Stoughton has one. Okay, well, there's one contrary vote then. So, I guess with that said, if the majority wants area, then we'll ask them to incorporate that. Are we getting a yes?
I was just gonna say that I can't agree with the consensus on the idea that I would have any of the choices on the top line. I would have probably made a choice of two different choices on the bottom lines, so.
Oh, is that an option?
Yes, that's certainly an option.
Then I'm sorry, I did not understand it that way. That is absolutely fine with me. Is that the preference of? I mean, again, if we're going to just use the bottom line, and this area point is moot, I think.
I'm a little confused. That's not new.
I am as well.
So if we went with two from the bottom line, one would be our place with the Oregon Senior Center and community gym as a tagline, and one as Oregon Place. I don't know the words. Energize, explore, energize.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that what the majority of you people are thinking? Or throwing out the top line?
Is that our two, or is that?
I struggle with that because we're taking the choice away then really from the community to have two options of the actual name.
I agree.
Can I offer an opinion?
Please.
Yes, please do.
I don't know if any of you took the time to read the original memo that kicked this off months and months ago. But the village in its own documents has more than once indicated the need to make this an inclusive space. And one of the ideas in making it an inclusive space was to get rid of the name Senior Center. And now we are proposing, after going through dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of possible names, giving the community two choices, one of which is basically the same name. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. But from my perspective, you guys have gotten this far on this path, and now you get to decide what you want, how you want to apply those decisions you made earlier about choosing to take on this project, with the notion that we wanted to get senior out of it. And now we're giving the community a choice, and we don't know how many people will vote, nor do we know what age group might reach that. So I guess what we're saying is, whatever two choices they're given, we have to be okay with the winner. And if you feel strongly that you want one of these to win, do you want to give people a choice between some taglines, between some logos? Or do you want to give them a choice of two different names and see how it plays out, even though the name may not fulfill the original reasons and purpose for the project?
I've just mentioned, I'm reminded of J.C. Park, where we gave the community options to rename it. One of the options was J.C. Park, and even though, rest in peace, all the J.C.'s are dead, it's still J.C. Park. And I think if we put Oregon Senior Center out there, it will be Oregon Senior Center, in my opinion. That will get the most votes. Tim?
Yeah, I don't know that we ever settled the issue of whether it should be a senior center or not. I think there's definitely an argument that we'd like to draw people in who go, I'm not a senior, I'm in this camp, I'm 67, I don't go there, other than to volunteer or for events. And we'd like to draw people my age bracket into there. But the other problem with taking senior off it is twofold. One, there are people already going there who consider themselves seniors who don't want to feel like they're not invited because we're trying to attract this other crowd. And that you get into sort of this, you attracting the new crowd drive away your existing crowd. That isn't always a good business model. But also too, if a new senior moves to the community and wants to find the senior center and they search senior center, will this place show up on their Google search, or if they're looking through a directory? And so I do think there's value to calling it a senior center because that's the majority of the programming. And if the goal is to attract somewhat younger folks that aren't coming, I think that's done with programming and other messaging to the community that says, yes, you're welcome too. And that's why I liked our place, because it can be very focused on the community. But I still think clarity of labeling of what it is requires the name senior being somewhere in the name or the tagline or somewhere in the building.
Yep, I agree. You can put senior resources on half the building. You can put a name, and then on half the building you can put community gymnasium or gymnasium, and half the building you can say senior resources or whatever you decide.
Yeah. So Tim's advocating for giving the public both
Our
options.
place and
Yeah.
line 1 and line 2.
Other thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like I really just want to echo what Tim is saying, which is that I think this entire process, it's been a back and forth. At the very beginning, I was very vocal about this being welcoming to all ages, and have been reminded, as I should, this is not any frustration, but that this is a senior center. It's a dedicated space for the seniors to come and gather, and we have to be cautious about opening it up to all age groups, because at the end of the day, we want this to have an identity and to stay focused. And so I think, Rachel, what you're touching on is this kind of constant push and pull that we have felt, not just with the naming process, right, but just with this building in general. And I think one of the things that I come back to is that we are 7 people of our community, and, if we send both choices out and the top line comes back as the preference, like, that's democracy in action, and I'm going to go to bed at night feeling like we did what we needed to do to get the community a choice. I feel like if we send out concepts 1 and 3 from the bottom line, I feel like we've sort of already made the choice, or that we've, essentially like decided, and we're sort of giving the community an option to pick sort of the decor, if you will, which is not like unimportant. I think it's one of those things where, yes, I totally agree. We've gone through this whole thing and we might come back with exactly the same thing we started with, but at least we have put thoughtful discussion and time into it. And at the end of the day, we provided our community an option that's very different and an option that's very similar, and, kind of let the chips fall where they may. That's where my mind is.
Great. I think, I would certainly agree. Let's try and narrow this down a little tighter then. Is there general agreement that we want to include the word area in the first one? Yeah. Yeah. That looks like no. Anyone willing to risk a no? Or
I think it's going to be hard to do it graphically, visually. I don't want to exclude folks from the surrounding communities. And I'm concerned that it makes them feel that way, but I just think you're going to get too many words up there.
We already have too many words.
We already have too many words, right?
Anybody else?
I'd agree with Tim. You're on your way to making a paragraph versus, than you are a brief statement of an entity.
I also agree. Anyone else? No opinions? I think from a graphic standpoint, Tom makes a good statement. Is if we take out the graphic, then we're really just, well put, a paragraph.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Rachel, as a director, as someone who sees people all the time, does it concern you for us to not have, are you worried that it will prevent people from our surrounding areas in which we serve from feeling like they could come and approach for resources? Could it have a big impact?
That's a good question, and I'm not really sure how to answer it. I think that to me, I'm not as concerned about people not knowing that they could come and that they can call and that that's their nearest place, that's where they belong. I'd be more thinking about how those municipal entities who provide support to the senior center as municipal units might feel about the change in the name, taking the area out. Just that might be a question that I'd want to have an answer ready for.
After leaving it out. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's go, we'll come back. On the Our Place, Our Place, the first one, it appears to be our favorite.
Yes.
There's been some discussion about changing the tagline to explore, engage, and I don't remember the third word.
Energize.
Thank you. But if we do that, then we're taking out the Oregon Senior Center. Go ahead.
I think the idea is that we would label the specific spaces with those. So like, right? Am I getting that wrong?
It's a tagline.
So under explore, engage, energize, it would say senior center. And then at the door of the community gym, it would say community gym.
Everyone all right with that? Okay, Rick?
I'm not sure I understand that, because if that's the case right now, we have a tagline under there that says Oregon Senior Center, and you're saying that that would stay there, and then under that it would say Oregon Senior Center again, or?
No. Senior Center would come out.
But the explore, engage would stay in.
Yeah, well, that's been proposed.
That would be the logo.
The logo that's on page 71 in the packet.
Yes, I understand.
And then underneath those words, the E words, it would say senior center.
That's kind of busy.
But this would be the overall branding for the facility and the literature, and then different spaces within the building would have different names that might incorporate part of this logo with senior center, with community gym, with.
So on the sign, let's say the sign on the building, what would that have on it? Explore, engage,
and energize.
No mention of senior center. I'm opposed to that.
Okay, I get it.
The building would still have the portions of the building that would be, community gym is over here, senior center is over.
Yeah, the building would still be labeled appropriately. But the logo itself would not be labeled that way. And my idea or envision is, again, giving the community an option to not use the word senior in the logo or brand.
I'm not necessarily thinking in relationship to just how it appears in the building, but I'm thinking like in a brochure, you would have Our Place, explore, engage, and energize, and beneath it, then you would have, here's a discussion of senior center services, community services, community gymnasium. So it would be two different elements brought forward then.
Okay. So what we present to the public will be explore, engage, I can't remember, and then below that, well, it'll say Oregon Senior Center. Not in the logo. So we're just showing the community the logo. So all right. So and that's the consensus. That's what we want to do. Tom?
Well, I guess I don't know how the survey looks. Does it offer explanation in the survey to say, portions of the building would be, or areas would be branded or still labeled with senior center or so forth, that you'd still have that this would be just an overarching kind of thing for the whole facility? I don't know. What's in the survey? How does the survey look?
Well,
Doesn't exist yet.
Rick, go ahead.
I guess part of what I was trying to do with my choice was to keep in mind both of those ideas, that we may want to have senior center listed, but possibly making it less amplified than being in the title. By using our place and then having Oregon Senior Center underneath it, not as a tagline, but as a complete sign, that's what it would say.
Right.
That offers a compromise. If we're setting it up the other way, what we're saying is if you don't like senior center, pick this one. If you like senior center, pick this other one.
Right.
And there is no compromise in either of those things. You have to decide on one or the other.
I think, for me, the explore, engage, and I'll never remember the third word. It's something that goes on a pamphlet or a handout, something like that. I just don't see it being part of a logo. I think a logo should communicate what this building, what this business is. And I don't think just that single tagline alone is going to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think I'm changing my vote then. I think that's a good point.
Okay. How about?
So we're looking at concept 1 on the bottom line as it is.
Yes. Can you live with that?
Yep.
Everybody else live with that?
Yes.
Okay, one down. All right. So Oregon area, we need to nail. We're coming back. So Rick, Tom made a good point about if we introduce area, then we're taking out the probably going to lose the graphic. I'm as sensitive as anyone to other municipalities' participation. However, who's paying the bill here? The village residents.
I guess in these three concepts, I'd go with the first one.
First one without the area, without the word area.
Just,
Yeah.
Oregon Senior Community and Community Center.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm with that.
Yeah, me too.
That's 3. We need one more. Going once.
Wait.
Going twice.
Wayne's not sold.
We have talked about the community center piece.
Yes.
I had come to terms with community gym.
Okay. So
But I do like 1.
You do like 1 without area? How about Rick? Rick, how do you feel about the word area?
I like the idea of having the word area in it. I think it's too wordy for the top designs, and I think it should be in the Our Place design under Oregon Area Senior Center underneath it.
We're not going back to
that one.
no, we're done with that. We're proceeding with the agenda. So I need a third vote on dropping the word area, or someone needs to convince one of the no votes on area to change their mind. You know, 5 years from now, you will not be thinking about this.
I know.
In fact, you won't be thinking about this at lunch tomorrow. So, you can do it.
The third vote to drop area.
Okay, so, all right. So, the choices presented to the community, the Oregon Senior and Community Center, and the Our Place with Oregon Senior Center below.
So the 2 on the left.
Two on the
They're
left.
up there. I'm good with that.
We need action on this? Sorry to wake you.
I'm glad you came back.
We should have it in a motion so we know.
Okay, let's, who would like to do that?
I would like to make a motion that we present to Tacy the Oregon Senior and Community Center as presented in the upper left of page 76.
So
and
concept one.
Concept one,
right?
and then the Our Place logo, concept one, for community input.
Okay.
Okay, motion by Higgins. Second by Kenifer. Further discussion.
Can I?
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Can
Uh,
can I add something really quickly? In the survey, can it just ask if there's never mind. Should we have something in the survey for people to give feedback, or are we just going to give them choice A, choice B?
I think there'll be a comments.
Will there be a comments?
We've already surveyed the public about what they wanted in a name. The last step in this process that you guys approved 6 months ago was a vote for the public to choose between two choices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. 8B, agreement for water services between the Village of Oregon, the City of Fitchburg, and the State of Wisconsin Department of Corrections related to the DLC facilities located within the City of Fitchburg. Staff recommendation, motion to approve. Higgins and Knifer. Questions on this one? Or I'm sure Lauren will be happy to answer any. Just some comments?
In acknowledgement of the heat, I will just say that most of it's in the memo. I'm happy to answer questions. Jake Emke from the DOA is here tonight as well to answer any questions on the state side. Huge props to Jake for driving this process forward with many, many, many moving parts and different entities. So it's been a journey that I think we're at a place that we're happy with.
Great. Okay, no questions. Motion by Higgins, second by Knifer. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for coming, Jake, and all your efforts.
Thank you. They're not all this exciting, but come back another time.
Okay, 8C, consider award of contract for base bid, alternate bid number 1, alternate bid number 2, alternate bid number 3, alternate bid number 4, and supplemental bid items for the 2026 Maintenance-Prairie Mound Cemetery Project. Staff recommendation, motion to award contract for the base bid, alternate bid 1 through 3, and supplemental bid items to the Tri-County paving in the amount of $161,297.50 and to reject the bids for the alternate bid number 4. Higgins and Kirstover. Questions on this item? Tom?
And just a little quick, what are the 3 alternative areas that are not paved now that will be? What's the purpose on those? They're all about the same size, so.
They are. I was afraid this question was going to come up because I do not have a map for this. I know that there were some little parking areas that our engineer Christian and Nick had kind of tossed around and kept out. So I believe that they are just kind of those pull-off areas like by the little shed over there. So,
Okay, so essentially therefore paving the parking.
correct.
That's already being used.
They're not new areas to my knowledge. Yep, we are just putting back what is there today.
Further discussion or questions? Okay, motion by Higgins, second by Kirstover. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 9, new business items for discussion and or possible action. A, 2026 through 2028 Village Board Strategic Planning and 2027 Budget Goals, Objectives, and Direction. Martin, did you want to expand at all on your...
Yeah, and I have a little bit of presentation.
Great.
Could you
send it over to my computer. Just based on the vibe I'm getting, I'll keep it moving along. Rich gets me set up here, so hey, here we go. So, so two things under this agenda item that we're talking about. We're talking about our 2-year strategic plan, and we're talking about 2027 budget direction. Kind of two separate things that are kind of coming together at the same time, and so I want to talk about both of them at the same time because it's hard to do one without the other. So, for context, and it's a little bit small for the font, but I'll talk through it. So just a reminder of where we have sort of been and where we are today. So from a strategic planning perspective, in recent history, the Village Board has adopted 2-year strategic plans. The first one was adopted in 2021. There was a second one adopted in 2023. And out of the last one, the 2023 one, there was something like 40 goals in that plan, and about 85% of those goals were either completed or they're in progress, or another 7% is partially completed as well. So that's sort of what has transpired. When we, of course, we're in 2026 right now. And so when we're talking about 2-year strategic plans, 2025 would have been the year that we would have wanted to have updated that. But there is a good reason why we didn't. We had quite a few discussions at the village board level about the strategic planning process last year. And all of that sort of happened within the outcome of the 2025 operational referendum last April. So there was quite a bit of times that this was on the village board agenda, and a little bit of maybe soul searching after the referendum outcome, and discussing about what are we thinking about in terms of what is strategic planning to us? Do we want to continue these 2-year plans? Do we want to do something else? And then we got into the summer, and we started to focus more on the budget process. And then we returned to this discussion in December. And at that time, there was sort of a general consensus, at least in my assessment from the board, that we want to kind of try to get back to these 2-year plans and have a discussion about that. So earlier this year, there was then a thought of, well, let's wait till after the April election because we might have at least one new board member, and maybe it'd be a good idea to talk about goals and objectives when we have a new board set. So that's kind of brings us to where we are today, and of course, the 2027 budget work, that's going to be getting underway in this, here in the summer pretty quickly. And so we have a budget schedule that actually designates this meeting, the May 18th meeting, as a meeting for the board to talk about its goals and objectives for the budget too. So two things sort of coming together here at the same time. So from the last time we sort of talked about this back in December, my understanding was two things. Number one, again, we want to try to get back to these 2-year strategic plans. And then number two, village administrator, myself, put together a draft of the plan for the board to react to. So really, purpose of this meeting is to confirm my understanding of sort of where we're at, make sure we're sort of connecting these two processes together, and then give direction if we are in the right direction or not in the right direction. But at this stage, we're not asking for any formal action. Certainly with the budget direction, we have designated both June meetings to continue talking about this if we need to. But so it's really just trying to get make sure that we're all in alignment with where we're at. I'm going to sort of breeze through a few more slides here, and I'm happy to talk more about any of these things. But just to sort of, for my sake, just sort of download my logic into sort of where these drafts have kind of ended up, and sort of all the different sort of things that are going into it. From a strategic planning perspective, so again, I think we have a good understanding of why we have that plan. We want to make sure that we set priorities, make sure we have accountability, make sure that we're prioritizing things. The 2-year strategic plan fits in a very good sort of gap within local government planning. Because of course we have our statutorily required comprehensive plan. That's the big community vision. We do a ton of other plans, studies, and reports that sort of get a little bit more granular. And then we have the budget process, which helps implement those things. But there's sort of a gap in taking those big abstract goals and vision from those bigger plans and studies and trying to grab things from those documents and trying to actually put them into a strategic plan where we're prioritizing things. So this 2-year plan does a really good job of kind of helping to bridge that gap. So it takes really those planning documents, it takes sort of the day-to-day operational needs that come up, and then ultimately your priorities as a political body, tries to combine them all together so that we have a 2-year plan that really focuses on those SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Again, just context, well-worn path. We've talked about these next couple of slides, but again, it sort of feeds into my thought in trying to draft these documents for the board. Again, from an operating budget standpoint, most of our costs are tied up in personnel. Over 70% of our budget is personnel. People deliver services. About 16% of our budget is contracted services. It's about another 1.7. Those are things like your attorneys, your assessors, your building inspectors, our contract for fire and EMS with the fire and EMS district. So again, either support services or actual services that are being delivered. And then really that last 14% is just keeping our lights on. Maybe sometimes the air conditioning works. And then just supplies, salt and sand for plowing operations, buying books and different materials at the library, that sort of thing. So it's very hard to talk about finding money in the budget without having a secondary question, which is, well, where are you going to take it from? And that doesn't affect current staffing or current service levels somewhere else. And then, of course, we have the limited revenue options, with 80% of our budget being funded through property taxes and shared revenue, which are both have pretty significant limitations on them. It's very hard to find new money as well. Last year we added a little bit of a wrinkle into our budget process where we had a worksheet for department heads to fill out in terms of how they're feeling about their overall capacity. And you can go back to some of those packets and look through those, but generally the consistent message throughout the organization was widespread strain and really a reactive operating posture. So we heard a lot about overload and burnout. There's a lot of proactive work that's being sacrificed by more immediate demands. The general sentiment from staff is this trend is going to continue to get worse. There are ways that departments are trying to solve it. There's been some things that have been implemented in recent years, but we're often finding ourselves in that catch-22 where we don't really even have the time to even investigate or work on some of these things because of the more immediate needs. So there's, just based on those worksheets that we did, you can see sort of where some of the departments fall in terms of capacity issues. There's some more sort of persistent issues in some departments. Certainly in some of our other departments, there's going to be more acute issues or transitory issues over the next year to 2 years. There's departments that are working with different levels of resources, and there's departments that have quite a lot of different things that are going on. We also have some pretty significant gap areas in our operations. For human resources, facilities management, IT, we don't have departments for those. We don't have any dedicated professionally trained staff for those. That's why your village clerk is trying to manage an HVAC issue right now. That's why your civil engineer is running, some IT right now. Those are some big gap areas where departments are trying to manage those things. And it's not necessarily their job or their background or their training to do those things. So we don't particularly do those things very well as an organization. Then in other places, for like community development, when we're talking about zoning, property maintenance, economic development, we have one professional employee who does all of that. Thank you, Elise. But when we talk about wanting to do more in terms of economic development, or just being able to think about development or do things in different ways, manage property maintenance, there's one person who is charged with trying to figure out all of that and trying to prioritize all of that. And then just organizationally wide, we don't have a whole heck of a lot of administrative support roles in our organization. So we have our operational staff, the folks that are public facing, or our laborers, or police officers, people who, boots on the ground sort of thing. And then when you look at our structure, there really isn't anything in between that and department heads for most of our departments. Certainly in administration, public works, community development, there are no administrative support roles in those departments. There's very limited support roles elsewhere in other departments. So what you have is a lot of departments and department heads who are serving day-to-day functions. They are the backup to public-facing operational roles. So why you have a police chief who's fulfilling SRO duties, finance director who will, has to sit out and take property tax payments, those sorts of things. So it's very hard to sort of think strategic at that department head level, when your day-to-day is sort of putting out fires and trying to, deal with, staff that might be on vacation or sick, or you have FMLA issues. So it's very, very, a limited capacity and limited support there administratively. So just again, a well discussed issue over the last 12 to 18 months on this topic. We have increased demands, communities growing, new facilities coming online, complexity in the organization keeps increasing as we grow. There's often a lot of expectation or a desire to do new things, but there's only a finite amount of staff time, funding, technology, training, and management that can match that. And then you have, of course, what we have there, which is the strain that has been noted by departments, triaging things, burnout, deferring things, increased risk that's occurring. And so what happens without intervention or prioritization is you just sort of have this gradual erosion of decline across sort of everything slowly year over year. So when we've talked about this in the past, especially over the last year when we did, at least from my perspective, there's some themes that I've heard over and over again, if not sort of overtly verbalized, but just based on the comments from board members. Keep hearing again, we want to try to maintain current municipal service levels. That's number one. We keep hearing, a desire to support staff and try to address capacity issues how we can. There's an acknowledgement and different conversations that, there are probably going to be times when we have to try to contain costs in certain ways. And then, we talked about revisiting a possible referendum. I think initially after last year's, there was sort of an expression of probably not in the next year or two, maybe 3 years out. But then last fall, we were talking about the police staffing study, and is there maybe an option to go back in 2026 or 2027 under sort of a premise of public safety, and using the police staffing study that we've been working on as sort of a basis to sort of go out and make sort of the public relations, public communications effort based around that. So just overall, just from my perspective, listening to the board and hearing these comments and discussions, there's sort of a general, whether, again, overtly verbalized, it's sort of trending towards, we want to continue sort of incremental management of what's happening, unless, we want to look at some of these other revenue options, including the referendum question. So in my memo, obviously, if you to go through that, my recommendation was to not revisit a referendum in 2026 or 2027, and all those reasons that are listed there are many and just a variety of different sort of angles for why not to. Certainly the current economic environment with sort of inflation and fuel costs alone, plus sort of the environment for successful referendum recently has not been particularly good. The amount of work that goes into it, just scheduling it over the next 2 years, and then of course the police study, which we will have the consultants here at the next meeting to present that. Certainly a lot of need for staffing over the next 5 to 15 years. But in terms of like a bulk sort of staffing need right now, probably not there to sort of sell to the community under a referendum. Maybe in a few years, 3 or 4 years, if we can't try to cover those things that are listed in that study, we might become a little bit better case to demonstrate that we're not meeting those needs, but just simply not right now. So in the packet, I had some information on maybe some revenue options that the board could consider. There's a presentation from our financial advisor Ellers in the packet that sort of walks through some different things. We're using a lot of those options. There's a couple more that are sort of hanging out there that we could maybe consider. Probably the most, I guess, supported one that's in our comprehensive plan, it's in our sustainability plan, is a stormwater utility. I think we're one of the last cities and villages in Dane County, certainly our size or larger, that does not have one at this point. I think Cottage Grove is working on a feasibility study right now in Wanakee. I think is the only other one that doesn't have one. So we can look at some of these different options that are listed. It's going to take some time to set those systems up and study them and analyze those structures and put those policies and all those things into place. So it's not something we would be looking at doing right away. It's probably more closer to a 2028 sort of implementation. So I have a strategic plan, sort of a rough draft. It's more of like an outline in the packet. So I guess all the things I've presented so far, that's sort of been my understanding, my sort of takeaway from where we've been over the last year and a half, and where we are to this point. Trying to put a draft plan together that sort of captures all of those things. And you certainly can look through it in the packet. I have a couple slides that sort of just list those things in there. And then there's also the 2027 budget direction draft that's in there. That sort of feeds from what I have in the draft strategic plan, and then tries to capture sort of a little bit more detail on where we need to go and what staff needs to be thinking about when we are putting our budgets together this year for the board. But again, it's focusing on those kind of core municipal services that we do. We want to continue those on. I would like to do those operating capacity worksheets again this year to sort of track these issues over time. Try to keep our capital process sort of the way that it has been and keep that going. For employee compensation standpoint, Again, with your budget being, over 70% of related to personnel costs, how we handle compensation, the budget is a huge percentage of that whole package. And again, I think with everything, I think we just need to be thinking about sort of the most minimal increase, which would be for village employees, sort of that one step on our compensation plan, and that's between 1.25% and about 2.5%. And then focusing on some of these staffing capacity priorities, an additional police officer, custodian, the HR position, and then a part-time library position. And then again, the staffing and departments and core sort of municipal functions are sort of the bulk of the budget. Probably the remainder of it is some of these external funding places that we give funds to. Fire and EMS, obviously public safety, big factor here, but putting our budgets together and working with our district partners to hopefully maintain that property tax levy limit exception, and that would be about probably between a 4% and 5% increase there. OCA Media, I know we've talked about that one quite a bit in recent meetings. Just looking at where franchise fees ended up, which has been the primary funding source for that contribution in 2025, where those ended up was a lot less than what I think even we conservatively thought was going to happen. And so I think we're looking at a contribution, if we're going to continue to just use that source, of probably no more than 100,000. But we'll have to look at that as we get closer to the budget process. And then the youth center is a little bit smaller amount, probably maintaining that at a similar amount that we've given in the past. One thing I had a note here on both OCA and OIC is, we've been giving open-ended subsidies to these organizations, and we may want to consider service contracts or service agreements as we move forward. If there are things that we like to get out of these organizations and we have an expectation that they deliver those things, they don't have that right now necessarily, because we're just giving an open amount to them. And I think at one of the meetings there was an expression that they really liked OCA Media doing the board summaries.
Right.
If we really like that and that's something we want them to do, they don't have an obligation to do it. We don't have a contract or agreement for them to do that. And so I think, as we move along, maybe that's not something we're able to accomplish this year, but I think, if there's something we want to get out of them and make sure that they're contractually obligated to provide that, that's maybe the direction we want to move in. So I'm just going to wrap it up. Again, we don't have to figure out anything tonight, but I really want to just make sure that kind of get a gut check from the board that we're moving in the right direction on this. And if there's anything that hasn't been understood or we need to sort of pivot and go a different way, please let us know. I'm happy to take any of that feedback and any questions that the board might have at this time.
Okay. Let's start with questions. Tim.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, from a vibe check standpoint, I'm pretty much in alignment with what you put in the memo. I think a referendum is likely to fail, even in the next 24 months. I have some optimism that things will change in state government and potentially in Washington that'll make things a little bit easier for us, but maybe that's naivety too. And I think you're really on the right path here. My preference, if we can find money, would be to aim it at retaining staff. The fact that we have staff that are, a clerk who's trying to fix the HVAC and an engineer who's trying to manage the IT is an indication that we have strong people. And I'd like us to put every effort into retaining them. And then if we could add a position, I think the HR manager is probably the top one I'd like to see. I like the idea of finding some additional revenue. The stormwater utility, I think, as you pointed out, is probably the best one. The fire service, I'm not as high on. And I would just share a story from our last fire commission meeting. We had somebody complaining about a fee they were charged by the fire department, and The deal is in the non-village areas, you can burn, but your burn permit says if the fire department has to come and help you put it out, you're gonna pay a fee. And what that creates is a scenario whereby if you're not sure you should call, but you're worried about having to pay if you do, people kind of err on the side of maybe being more reckless than we want them to be, and so we might even have to revisit the existing policy. Because you don't necessarily want to let something get further out of control. And I worry about a fire service for fee creating that sort of dynamic. But I do think you're kind of on the right path here, and I appreciate the time and effort you put into the memo.
Okay. Anybody else? Lynn?
Yeah, I agree. I think that you've done a nice job of laying this out. I feel a little bad because I feel like this is our job and you've done our job for us. So thanks for that. The only thing I guess I'd push back on is the worksheets, the departmental worksheets for another year. I mean, if that's something that you think is important to track, my thought is just like the return on investment doesn't seem overtly apparent to me. I don't think anyone's going to say it's getting better. Although if you are, great, like love that feedback. But I think what we're just going to hear is that we're more stressed, we're more overworked, it's more overburdened. And, you know, I think it's one of those things where this board is, I think, at least I am always open to hearing that, but I just don't need it in terms of another update this year. If as an administrator you think that's helpful, by all means, but the ROI on that didn't seem to be huge.
The time to put it together, you mean?
Yeah, and for the department heads to fill it all out, and you know.
I'd say there's a little bit of long-term strategy in it. It tells a story.
Okay.
And if we want to return to referendum in 3, 4, 5 years, now we have a lot of work that's been done in advance to show, hey, this is not getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, that worksheet last year had sort of a survey part that sort of ranked numbers, sort of severity. That's really what I'm more interested in this year. I can do without sort of some of the other sort of qualitative questions that were on the survey last year. So I guess to maybe compromise there, I'd say let's just do the survey part, and that way we have that information to tell that future story if we need to.
Okay.
Anybody else? Tom?
It is always this time of year a point of frustration. What we want to do is what we can't do. Your work here is obviously valuable and really important to help us to understand it. It's sort of a catch-22 when the thing that's driving us on these rising costs is inflation, and yet the thing that probably makes a referendum probably the most difficult is everybody's feeling the pinch because of inflation. If everybody had a different scenario, we probably would be talking about, maybe a minor tweak and people would be okay with that. But this right now, I don't see that anybody isn't feeling the pinch. I would say that real wages are declining across the country, and it's difficult. They ask why doesn't growth keep up with it, and it's like growth can't hit these kinds of levels of inflation that they're dealing with. I mean, that's the net of it. It's an approach. We could hope that inflation cools or is managed, and that would provide at least some relief to us as we see some new developments coming along. So sort of stay the course, I guess, is where we're winding up.
Okay. Anything else? Rick, go.
Yeah, I guess I would just echo what the other people are saying is I had an interest in seeing whether or not it was valuable to look at a referendum to have everything on the table. I don't see a lot of appetite for it, and I'm glad to hear that at least in the short term, it seems like the study that we're doing supports the idea that we might be able to wait a while. And I like that we're not that study, it wasn't a waste of time because it's going to be able to be used for future staffing needs and to support any changes in our future needs for revenue, whether it's from a referendum or other sources. I do like the idea of a source possibly from stormwater before fire protection. I do support the idea of supporting our staff and equity in that support, and I would be very interested in making sure that if there is an agreement with one group of our staff as to what it is that they're going to be getting compensation increases for, that all the staff be considered the same level of compensation for that same thing.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Martin, for giving us a clear path forward. Any other comments, or are we giving, are you looking for something more than what we're?
No, I think this is good. I think it confirms on the right path. I think what I'll do is I'll go back and just re-listen to some of these comments and hone and refine what I have here, and then make it look nice and pretty, and come back and maybe adopt some of these directions.
Okay, moving on. Thank you. Let's see. Where are we at? 9B, status of the ad hoc public transportation committee. I'd add this to the agenda. Martin and I have discussed this, well, at length over quite some time. And I think he laid out where we stand right now in terms of we've had difficulty getting community involvement to the point where I don't believe they've met in the last 18 months, perhaps longer. Difficulties of maintaining a quorum. So I guess I'm going to suggest a pause. I think if there are people on this committee, they may, if there's openings in sustainability, maybe they can move there. It may become apparent at some point in the future that maybe we want to break this committee out again. And as Martin detailed in his memo, we had that grant that's been out there for a couple of years maybe, and the state's really saying now that even if we started today, we probably couldn't get it done. So we would turn that grant back, and then I would make a motion to repeal the ordinance that created the committee.
I would second that motion.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Just for clarity, that
yes, direct
I
staff.
assume the motion is direction to prepare an ordinance to repeal the ordinance.
Thank you. Yes. Questions, comments? Hearing none. Motion by the chair, second by Higgins. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 10, reports of village officers, department heads, and consultants. This is for information only. Included in your packet is the village administrator report. Questions? Okay. B is a village financial consultant report. Sale day reports for $17,420,000 general obligation promissory note series 2026A and $5,035,000 water and sewer system revenue bond series 2026B from Ellers. That was spelled out in the report. Anything to add on that?
I think the sort of top line takeaway is both sales were very, very successful. The GO note ultimately the outcome was a $1 million improvement over the total debt service of the 20-year note, and on the revenue bond side, the total debt service over the lifetime of that note was just a little over $400,000 in savings. So that was realized through just interest rates being slightly better than what we projected, plus a little bit less administrative overhead, and then also premium coming back from the sale of those obligations. So very successful, and it's a very, very, very good thing for the village from a financial standpoint.
I think our timing may have been perfect on that. I think another couple of weeks later, we might have not been so favorable.
Yeah. Any comments? Okay. 10C Village Assessor Report, 2026 Annual Assessor Report from Accurate Assessor. To comment on that? No? Okay. Questions? No. Okay. Village Contractor Report, Oregon Senior Center Project Progress Schedule from Portzen Construction, which is included. Any additional comments?
As far as I know, things are going well.
Great. Great. Okay, thank you. Item 11, announcements, comments, communications, upcoming meetings and events, and miscellaneous business. Let's see, resolution number 26-13, resolution urging the governor and state legislature to enact a comprehensive and sustainable transport funding solution. Staff recommendation, motion to approve. Christopher Higgins. This was recommended to us by the league. Yeah, yep, by the league that we do so, and get a chance to read through it. Made a lot of sense. I won't read it, but it's an ongoing problem, and I think it's something, it's good to lend our voice to. Okay, let's see, we have a motion by Kirstover, second by Higgins. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 11B, future agenda items. Higgins.
I'd like to offer a future agenda item to discuss an idea that's been floating around the village to amend our property tax bills to break out the amount of property taxes that are going to charter schools. I'd like to have a discussion about that.
Okay. Objection? Okay, so added. Any other future agenda items?
It's not a future agenda item, but I did want to just put out there, we have 2 committee openings for Cultivating Belonging Committee. So if there are those that are watching, happen to be on the Transportation Committee and want to come on over, I would greatly appreciate it. And you can fill out the application on our village website. So Cultivating Belonging Committee has 2 openings. Thanks.
Thank you. I was remiss in not asking for, are there any announcements from department heads or? Oh, and Village Board, Tim.
Just a note that the Public Works meeting next week is an hour later than normal. We're hoping to finalize at that point the communication around the major construction project that's going to be happening out here at Alpine and Jefferson, and develop a comprehensive plan for communicating that.
Okay.
Is that the 26th?
It's the 26th, yes.
Is it 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Thank you.
The other announcement is, I don't know if anybody wants to talk about Saturday's tree planting day. How many trees do we plant? Sustainability or Lauren?
20-ish?
28.
28, thank you. Yes.
Almost 30.
Good turnout?
We had a really nice turnout, yes.
Oh, good.
And it's a great community event. Next one that comes along, I encourage people to volunteer. It's a lot of work. But it felt pretty good to be involved with the other people who are serving their community like this. So it made me glad to live here again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 12. Discussion of possible action regarding the negotiation of School Resource Officer SRO program agreement with the Oregon School District. The Village Board may convene in a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And the 19.85 sub 1 sub F, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons except where paragraph B applies, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data, or involved in such problems or investigations for the purpose of deliberating and developing a negotiation strategy for the SRO program agreement with the Oregon School District, and to consider information involving specific persons that may arise in connection with related school district and law enforcement matters. The Village Board may convene an open session for the purpose of taking action on any matter discussed in closed session as necessary or appropriate. Item B, discussion and possible action regarding a claim submitted by Tim Martinelli against the Village of Oregon alleging property damage from village mowing operations. The Village Board may convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, sub 1, sub G, for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel who is rendering advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely to become involved regarding the claim submitted by Tim Martinelli against the Village of Oregon alleging property damage from village mowing operations. The Village Board again may convene in open session for the purpose of taking action on any matter discussed in closed session as appropriate. Looking for a motion for closed session. Higgins and Marks. This is a roll call vote.
Knipfer,
Yes.
Marks,
Yes.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Van Campen,
Yes.
Higgins,
Yes.
and Kirchdorfer.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We are in closed session.
I'm gonna ask for like 10 minutes to
10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes.